Hi friends, Mickey Mankus here and welcome to Out the Back Door. Today I am going to be making borscht. I'm going to put a little twist into it, so stick around. Now I went and I picked all of the red beets out of the garden, and when I do that, Mr. Mankus is like so excited he wants borscht. Now when I was going to make borscht and I was explaining how I was making it, he said, no, that's not how my mom made it. I never had the opportunity to meet his mother. She had died before I had met Mr. Mankus, and it was like, well, where am I supposed to find her recipe? So we started trying to get a hold of some of the other family members to see if they had the recipe, and nobody had it. So finally I got to the point where the old township, I don't even know what you would call it, but anyway, close to where we go hunting. It happened to be my sister-in-law came in contact with somebody out there that's lived there for a very long time, did recognize the recipe that we were looking for, and shared it with us. So I had made this borscht for Mr. Mankus. And I said, so is this what it was supposed to be like? And he goes, well, I don't really remember. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, it's been so many years since he had had it. But he did like it. I'm thinking that, well, borscht is well known for like Russia, Poland, and he does have some Polish or Lithuanian background in him. Being this recipe is so different from any type of borscht I've ever made before, I'm thinking possibly that maybe different regions had their own way of making it a little bit special. I don't know, because I don't think you're going to find this recipe anywhere else on the internet or in a cookbook, or unless you know the Mankus family. So what I'm starting with, I've got 3 large beets here. The recipe calls for 6 to 7 medium-sized beets. Well, I didn't get out in the garden to harvest things when they should have been harvested because of my surgery. So my beets became extremely large. So what you want to start with is the 6 to 7 medium-sized beets. You want to cook them. And if you don't know how to cook them up and get the peels off easily, I will leave a link to that when I was making pickled beets. And also, you want the beet greens. I went and dehydrated all the beet greens from the Detroit red beets here. That's what I'm using right now, are Detroit reds. You can use whatever kind of beet you want, but traditional borscht has red beet. So I had to go out in the garden in the rain and pick beet greens because I've still got golden beets out there. It still has the beet flavor in it, so I'm using those. I'm dicing up the cooked beets, and then I will be working on the greens next. Check out how dark that ring got in this one beet. I actually grew a variety of 3 different types of beets. Like I said, I did Detroit red, I have the golden beets, and then I also did a mixture of colorful beets. This had to have come from the colorful beets. I was trying to keep them together where I had the red ones together to process, and then the golden ones I'll do later on. But it almost looks like a black line that the red is so dark. What I'm doing now is I'm just snapping off the stems from the greens. I'm just kind of rolling them together. So I've got small pieces like this, and I'm going to toss them into a pot. I am going to parboil these because right now they are tough. It's not like picking beet greens in the springtime where they're really tender. Now, if you don't know what borscht actually is, it's a soup. That's why I said there's a little bit of a twist on this one further down the line. It always consists of beets. All right, I've put about 5 cups of water in my pot here with my greens all chopped up and everything, and I'm gonna get this onto the burner. And I've got it on a medium heat. I'm just gonna kind of let that bring it up to a boil, and like I said, I'm gonna parboil it, so I'm not gonna completely cook it. But once we get it parboiled, I still have my strainer that I had washed and rinsed all the beet greens in and everything, and I've got that ready to go because I'm going to drain the excess liquid off into that. All right, while I'm doing that, I've got another pan out here. I am going to be doing bacon. Now the recipe calls for, I believe, 2 to 3 pounds of bacon. Well, this is a real wood smoked hickory, 1.5 pounds. And I figured this is going to be enough. I actually call this version of borscht heart attack borscht. And by the time I get done putting the ingredients in, you're going to see why. So I am just going to be chopping this up into bite-sized pieces. You do realize that any type of meat, especially bacon, cuts a lot easier if it's somewhat frozen. Now I realize these are kind of big chunks, but this is the meat source in here. Now when I've made borscht before, years ago, I did it with beef in a beef broth base to begin with. We are going to do the recipe Mr. Mankis's mom did, or at least we think that's what it is. All right, I've got all my bacon cut up. I'm gonna put it on the back burner and I'm gonna check on the greens. Here's a reminder, if you do wanna make borscht throughout the winter and you don't have access to get fresh beets with the tops and everything from the grocery store, if you do have a garden, at this point where we've got our cooked beets chopped up and everything, and then once we parboil our greens, we can actually freeze this and then use it at any time to start this recipe. All right, my beet greens look like they are done. They're just parboiled. And so I am going to drain these next. I added a small amount of water into the bottom of the pan, being the burner was really hot yet. And you don't have to rinse this or anything. All you needed to do is drain off that excess liquid. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to do then is I'm actually adding in my beets. I'm going to add enough water into this just to bring it up to the level of the beets. Okay, that's approximately 3 cups of water that I've dumped in. And I'm going to turn the temperature up to about a medium high, and I'm going to let this cook. Now, I realize I said this is a soup, and you would think you'd have more liquid in it. We are going to be adding more liquid later on down the line. So I am going to let this start cooking up, and I'm going to continue with the bacon, and then we'll get to the next step. All right, I'm cooking this long enough so that the beets become somewhat tender. And right now, I don't know if you can see through the steam, they're losing their color, but that's because it's leaching into the water, part of the soup. All right, looks like my bacon's done pretty good. If you want, you can save a little bit of it for a garnish on top. I'm going to turn the heat off on the bacon. And I am going to start scooping it into my pot here. I don't know about you, but I like to save my bacon grease to fry up eggs. Alright, now that I've got the bacon mixed in, this is the part where I said, okay, we're going to start getting to, I call it heart attack soup. Actually, I call it Pepto Bismo soup. And you're gonna see in a moment why. All right, I canned up some half and half, and I need to pour a whole pint in here. Now, most of the time, borscht is served with sour cream. And yes, we're going to add sour cream also. So I'm going to need 1 cup of sour cream. And if you end up doing fat-free or whatever, you're missing it on this one. That's why I only make this like once a year. Okay, fortunately this time it isn't coming out like Pepto-Bismol, like it has in the past. Alright, and I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper to season it. I like pepper. And I'm going to use Himalayan salt today. You can use whatever you want. And I'm not going to put a whole lot being we've got all that bacon in there. Alright, now mix that up. And now all I'm going to do is let it heat thoroughly before I serve it. Mr. Mankus likes to pour this over mashed potatoes. And that's the part it was like I did not understand when he kept saying a recipe for borscht and you put it over mashed potatoes. And I said, no, borscht is soup. You don't pour this over mashed potatoes? Well, I guess his family did. I'm going to keep heating this up and then I'm going to dish up a bowl of it. But then I need to get going on the mashed potatoes for somebody else. Well, as I said, I'm going to eat this as a soup. The way borscht is supposed to be eaten, I think. So this is, I'm going to call it the Mankus borscht. Because, like I said, I have never seen a recipe like this anywhere on the internet. Or in a cookbook, even like the old church cookbooks that everybody put out, you know, in the local areas and stuff. I've never seen or heard of anything like this before. So I want to thank you for joining me today, and if you did enjoy this video, please give me a thumbs up and share, and if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. So until next time, you have a wonderful day. God bless. Okay, let's try this out now. Because it isn't as pink as Pepto-Bismol like the last time I made it. No, it's good. You just kind of have to get past the look of it.